and welcome to Finextra's Predict 2022 series. I'm Hannah Wallace, and with me now to speak about consumer banking predictions is Panos Archondakis from EPAM. Panos, thank you very much for joining us. It's good to have you on.
It's great to be here.
So, we're talking about a really interesting topic as we lead into 2022, consumer banking trends, and also we'll be speaking off the back of EPAM's recent report into this space that highlighted a real fragmentation in the market. And one of the reasons for that was caused by consumers' willingness to use different providers for different services. So let's start there. What do you think has been the impact of this?
Well, I think there are a few key themes that we need to look at to understand the context. And the first is obviously the migration of all kinds of services to a more digital consumption model. So everything that we do is becoming digital, whether it's through your mobile device, online, through web browsers, social interaction, consumption, these things are all becoming more digital. As we use more and more digital services, they need to be more personalized. This is becoming a basic expectation of consumers. And personalization depends on data. Now, when we talk about the fragmentation or unbundling of services, which is what we called it in our consumer banking report, we realized that it's a classic sort of digital or disruption play. So providers are finding a niche, they're looking at how they can optimize that, they're providing a service that is needed at the end of the day. The effect it's having, though, is that as you make your service smaller and smaller and you're occupying a niche and you're doing it really well, the problem is that your piece of the jigsaw puzzle becomes smaller as well. So the ability to provide personalization depends on large data sets and understanding of the entire context for a consumer, but actually you're limiting your ability to do that as you unbundle and provide more fragmented services. So there's almost a tension there that restricts your ability to personalize and offer the optimal digital service simply because you provided a very small niche. So I think that the direction of travel for this is going to be towards provision of data services. The data itself will become a vital commodity in the provision of services, possibly leading to the rise of new sort of aggregators and providers that take data from a lot of different sources, put it together and allow you to create a complete picture of the consumer.
Okay, and another standout finding from the report showed that customers have a clear preference for retaining access to physical branches, which is bound to create some challenges. So how can this be reconciled with the growing trend towards digital banking, the closure of branches, and also the fragmentation of services? What about that?
Yeah, it is an interesting one. It's counterintuitive. What we've found, though, in the report is that consumers have a number of other sort of sub-themes that are quite interesting as well. Firstly, consumers trust the banks they have. They're very happy with the banking relationships they have already today, and they have no intention of switching their main banking relationship from the current provider to new ones. They're willing to adopt new services from new providers, which is the unbundling we're talking about. At the same time, one of the themes we identified was that consumers really value personal interaction. So whether this is through digital channels or not, obviously it's what you get when you walk into a branch. It seems important to people to have access to a human being that they can talk to when they need advice, and it's clear that that's what you get when you go into a physical branch. So the data that we have shows that even the younger age groups are more interested in retaining access to physical branches even than older age groups, which is again counterintuitive. And we think that it's driven by the element of trust. So if there is uncertainty, if there is concern about your financial situation, being able to walk into a bank branch, which is a trusted venue, is an important aspect.
All right, so with that in mind then, would you say that banks need to be more progressive in their education, information and financial advice for their customers? And tell us, what's the demand here and how can it be delivered?
So education information, advice, they're not necessarily all all equivalent. They're not all the same thing. Coming back to unbundling and fragmentation of services, if I as a consumer have 5 different service providers for different aspects of my financial life, I might have my deposits, I might have a mortgage somewhere else, I might have my accounts for trading or investments, cryptocurrencies. What it means is that the information that I get from those fragmented providers is also more fragmented. So there is no provider that actually offers me a holistic view of my financial situation and can offer advice across all of those different aspects of it. So that opens up an opportunity. We think that it ties back into the trust factor. So if you are an established bank, you've had a trusted relationship with your customer for a long period of time, you are in a prime position to be able to offer them a holistic set of advice. To be able to do that, you will need access to the data across all of those different financial relationships. So we think things like open banking and other sort of data aggregation mechanisms will be quite key to being able to provide the advice. I think that the established banks need to be progressive in this area. They have the opportunity, because of the trust factor, in being able to offer these kinds of services. We're seeing them being, we're seeing some of the banks being quite progressive in this area already. We see pop-up sort of banking centres being introduced in high street venues like barber shops and other non-banking environments. We see banks thinking about collaborating and having shared physical branches where they can come together and offer advice, and no one bank then bears the entire cost of maintaining the physical branch. Monetizing it will be important as well, and we do believe that consumers may be willing to pay for these services as well.
Well, Panos, while you've weaved a lot of predictions into your responses there, in summary, what can we expect to see from the consumer banking space as we move into 2022?
I think to summarize it all, the aggregation of data and providing services based on a holistic view of a client situation will become quite important. It is already quite important. It will become more and more important as we try and offer the personalized and relevant services that consumers expect. And I think that we will be seeing a rise in the number of services that try and pull these data elements together.
Well, Panos, thank you so much for sharing your predictions with us today in the consumer banking space. And for anyone looking to learn more, I urge them to go to that report. But for now, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.